Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Heart as a Mother. For those of you who are new or just tuning in, we are Heart and Jizzy, just two moms on a mission to create a safe space for other moms and dads, or anyone really, to share the honesty and the realness that comes with parenthood while also being able to laugh at ourselves. And as usual, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Harleen.
Hello, beautiful people. I'm so excited to be here. And Jizzy, thank you for the lovely intro as always.
You're welcome.
You really know how to get a girl hyped up. So before we introduce our next guest, we have some super exciting news. We're holding our first annual golf classic tournament. So we've teamed up with One Body Village, which is a registered charity that supports at-risk and affected children of sexual abuse and exploitation in Southeast Asia. So the CEO, Angela Nguyen, was a previous guest on our show, which was episode 20? Was it episode? Yep. Oh, this thing is out of control today. Episode 20. I'm just a hot mess. So be sure to check it out. We hope to see you at the Ham Charity Golf Classic, where we help provide vulnerable children shelter, education, medical care, psychological counseling, and vocational training so that they can rebuild their lives and reach for the stars. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And thank you so much for all the love. We've been getting some great messages. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, check out Angela's episode. It's episode 20 called Voice for the Kids. So we're beyond excited to see you all at the event. You don't have to be an expert golfer. Let me tell you, I don't golf, but I do drink, and I want to support this cause.
Guys,
it's very near and dear to our hearts, you guys, so we want to see you there. We'll have tons of prizes, raffles, and most importantly, just a good time.
Well, that's why we golf. Actually, that's why I golf.
That's why I golf.
To get on the golf carts and get drunk.
Where drinking and driving is okay, I guess. I'm kidding. It's never okay. It's never okay.
Never okay. Never okay.
Okay, guys. So let's get to it. Today's episode contains sensitive subject matter and could cause some triggers. So just a little trigger warning for you guys here. So both men and women experience assault or sexual assault, but women account for 92% of the victims of police-reported sexual assaults in 2008. Women self-reported 553,000 sexual assaults in 2014, according to Stats Canada, and women were more likely, or 20 times more likely than men, to be victims of sexual assault. So sexual assault is not only a violent crime in Canada that is not declining. Like, let me repeat that statement again. Sexual assault is the only violent crime in Canada that is not declining. Especially now, if you guys have turned on the news in the past couple of weeks, it's only gotten worse. This is the reason why women's risk of violent victimization was about 20% higher than men's in 2014, and that's according to self-reported data from the General Social Survey on Victimization. So while the rate of sexual assault has remained stable, rates of robbery and physical assault have gone down, and men are more likely to be the victims of those crimes.
So guys, those are some staggering numbers. And let me reiterate, the fact that sexual assault is the only violent crime in Canada that is not declining. So when I think about that, the first thing that comes to my mind is my kid, my nieces, my female family members, and my friends. So today's guest, she started to encounter random and unexpected situations walking to and from work, which triggered her need to find a class or a program that could teach her skills to feel confident in case she was ever faced with a situation that would require her to physically defend herself. Her passion evolved from her own personal needs to focusing and wanting to reach as many girls and women so they could benefit and learn the same valuable skills that would build confidence and empowerment in the day-to-day lives. We want to welcome Josy. How do you put it's Fierro Roxas?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to butcher her last name. Welcome.
No. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you here. Before we get into it, tell us what kind of unexpected situations you encountered that led you to where you are today.
Well, of course, there's always the walking downtown. You know, there's always expectation that you're going to meet or run into someone strange. For me, it was always my same route going from, it's Beltline, Calgary. So it's always through, you guys familiar with the Lougheed House? Kind of in
Yeah.
that area. And
Yeah.
then just not far
A
from
lot
there,
of
you have
alleys. Yeah.
a lot of alleys, a lot of little, just little tight corners. So anyways, I always took the same route to and from because I parked blocks down, and every time I crossed through the park, there was always somebody on the bench or some character walking around being strange. So, I mean, it was always like someone coming walking by, or just from a distance, they were all gathered, even drinking openly, and I have to walk by and I'm dressed what I think is fine and business casual, whether I want to wear my summer dress or whatever. So, I would always get a comment, or I always feel uncomfortable, or they would follow you. Or one time a gentleman walked right past me and he was so close to my ear and he called me a slut. And I was like, what? And I questioned myself for a second. Am I dressed like a slut? Like, I'm not dressed like a slut. But that right then really pissed me off, but it really scared me because I really don't know what would have happened had I reacted, or he touched me, or he did something. So these things happened often. One time I went out for lunch. I sat on a bench, and a group of gentlemen, were hanging out just lower before, and they came up, and I'm sitting by myself. Again, what do I do? And they would just ask for money. I didn't have money, but I immediately put my hands in my pocket, to see if I had anything just to kind of discourage them. But I put myself in a situation where I had no clue what I would do because I felt backed up. Thankfully, nothing happened, and there's people all over. But again, it was just a matter of not knowing in the back of my head, what would I do? What if? So that's how it all kind of began for me. My husband and my daughter were both taking martial arts at a school, at academy, the same school. And I figured, you know what, I need to find myself a program to at least have some kind of confidence or an idea of what I would do to protect myself. And so I said, well, naturally, I'm just going to join the same school they are. They didn't have a standalone women's self-defense program, but I figured, okay, let me just learn some skills. Maybe this will help. I joined, I started kind of enjoying it, really learning some things. It consists of Filipino martial arts, Muay Thai, Wing Chun, Silat, and JKT, which is just the concept philosophy of martial arts, Bruce Lee's philosophy.
Okay.
And I spoke with my instructor, my head guru there, and said, you know what, let's talk about a program specifically for women that incorporates these arts, but simplify it, because an art is an art. You see it's beautiful. It's a drill. That's not going to happen on the street. We needed to take that and simplify it. So everyday person or anyone off the street can learn it. So that's how it was born. And after that, it was no turning back. Yeah.
So just too many close calls for you to not do something about it.
Exactly. And, becoming a mother just made it that much more.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, if I don't know what I'm going to do, how am I going to teach her what to do if she needs to defend herself, And we're small people. And again, that was the mentality, I'm small, I can't defend myself, or I'm weak, or whatever. That is not the case with self-defense. Martial arts, like I said, is pretty, it's beautiful, it's an art.
Yeah.
Self-defense is ugly, it's raw, it's straight to the point.
Yep.
It's never going to go as planned in your head or how you think it's going to happen. But mentally preparing yourself for a situation is what matters, right? So it sounds kind of crazy. And I always, when I start the program and we have a group of ladies, the first thing I tell them is it's not about becoming paranoid or just kind of, paranoid really is what it is. Like, I don't want you guys to feel that all the time. I just want you guys to establish safety habits. That's what it comes down to. Because nowadays, it's all about our phones. We're on our phones. We're comfortable. I leave work, I'm on my phone, I'm looking down. That's the worst thing you can do. And why not use the tools that you have on you to your advantage, right? Or know what to do with them if you needed to. So again, it's raw. It's raw. Anything could happen. You just need to be mentally prepared. And that's what the first step to self-defense is, really mentally preparing yourself for a situation. I'm not paranoid. I'm prepared. I walk out, and I like to use the concept when I leave work. Now I'm working at home, but when I used to walk downtown and leave my building, I would mentally prepare myself. Okay, I'm going to walk through here. Keys in the pocket, phone in the pocket, my bag. Everything else I need is in my bag, but my essentials are in my pocket. And this is the first thing I like to teach the ladies. Your phone and keys, keep them at hand, because this is what you're going to use for a couple of reasons. There's a way you can use this to save your life. And if, God forbid, you get robbed or somebody steals your stuff, you could still call someone.
Yeah.
And your keys can also be used. I mean, are those your car keys? Are those your house keys? You can still get to your car. Your keys can also become a tool to self-defense, or for self-defense.
Yeah.
And if you need to get to your home. So there's so many reasons. Everything else is replaceable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an audience here. Your daughter's here.
My daughter's here.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your daughter.
Well, she is everything. As you guys probably have, with my past guests, life changes when you have a child.
Yeah.
Life changes even more, and I'm being biased because I'm a mother of a daughter when she's a girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys. You guys have probably talked about finding yourself, losing yourself. I did a little bit of both, I still to this day, you question is like, I'm starting to find myself. Was I lost before? Or is it, you kind of question, what is it? But what about her? She came out kicking. She came out kicking. She's completely changed my life. She's motivated me. She is my biggest inspiration. And I say that, truly, sincerely say that, because before, you just kind of go with the motions.
Yeah.
She has made me a better person. She's made me want to be a better person. She has inspired me to do the things that I do now. And the reason why women's self-defense is such a huge passion of mine, like I get excited when I talk about it, my heart races, because I always envision her. She is somebody's daughter. She's your daughter. She's your daughter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just instilling these things in young ladies. And if we can do that as a parent to our child, that means that she's going to do the same.
Totally.
At least we hope.
Yeah.
Right. And that was one thing that I wanted to also talk about was these videos emerging lately of kids being bullied and people not doing anything about it.
Yeah. It's a daily topic that I talk about in my household with my son, because he shows me videos like on his phone of people that are forwarding these videos to him or social media. And I was like, were you there to witness it? And did you videotape this? And he's like, no, someone sent it. And I know there's a couple times where I was like, well, what did you do if you did see this happening? And I said, to stand and watch it happen, you are part of the problem, is what I said. I said, I know snitches get stitches. Yeah,
get
sorry.
stitches,
I was
yeah.
about to say bitches, but
Bitches get stitches too.
So I tell him, like, I get it, and you're a teenager, but you don't have to tell anyone that it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just inform someone or me, or I'll be the snitch.
Yep.
But it doesn't have to get to you. But I also think I put him in those situations, and I was like, God forbid that you are in the situation where someone bullies you or just jumps you for no reason. I would want someone to stick up for you, or your friends to get you, or whatever. I said, if you don't have that kind of characteristics, or you don't hang around with people like that, chances are you will be left to fend for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell her, and just any kid that comes into our studio or to our academy. And we tell them, you don't have to physically go and get yourself involved. I mean, and again, that's scary.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
asking you to physically go fight for someone else's honor or to save them. Just by picking up that phone and calling somebody and saying stop, that might resonate with somebody or one of the bullies. Again, it could put you in a position, but you know what? There's a society that's being created now that they just sit back and watch because they're afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with that.
Right.
None of us should be okay with that.
Yeah. And us as parents, and this being a parenting podcast, like, it's our responsibility. And when you see those kids who aren't doing something, it's like, what did that kid's parents tell them about sitting back and watching, you know? And, the fact that we are parents and this hits so close to home, like, first of all, what you said about Jazz, like someone is cutting onions in here. That was beautiful. And it also just makes me think about my daughter, right? Because there was just an incident that happened with Ava at the park last week where, she was shoved. I wasn't there. My grandma took her. She was shoved to the ground by an older kid. And you've seen Ava. She's tiny. And my grandma was saying to the other mom, like, your kid is so much bigger. Like, why did he push her? Yeah. And she said, well, they're just playing rough. And then they ran to their car and drove away. But none of the other moms or everyone was just watching. Yep. And my grandma was so distraught. She was telling me the story and she was like in tears. And she's like, if I could have done something, if I could have ran after their car, I would, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, so now that lady has missed a valuable teaching moment for her son. Like, didn't even, own up to what happened, just ran. Yeah. So, I, of course, was like, okay, well, that's not going to fly. And I had to sit her down and talk about it because this stuff happens every day, no matter how old.
And it's good, even at 4, right? She's 4. She, just to turn the table and say, what if, you saw this happen or use those scenarios? I did this with her the minute she came out, like we were able to talk about things. I'm like, well, what would you do? What if? We always play this, and it's the same thing when women's self-defense. It's the same thing. Okay, well, what if there's a gentleman walking down the street towards you? We have instinct. And I always tell women, we have that extra gut instinct. We always have. That's the advantage that we have. Don't ignore it. So what if he does something? What if he asks for your purse? What are you going to do about it? I always mentally walk and prepare myself and say, okay, if someone comes up behind me, I'm going to do this, and that. And now you're mentally ready. I don't know if it's going to play out the way, but I have at least an idea or a plan in my head. So it's no different than telling our kids, what if that was you? Or what if that's your friend? Or what if, don't stand by and watch. If you take a picture, I think there's an advantage to that because now you have proof of who's doing it, taking video. But at the same time on our phones, and I show this in my self-defense class, there's you want me guys to show you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I always say, a scenario is if there's someone coming at me or I'm confronted by someone, they may be asking for my stuff, for my material. And all I have to do is really press my phone and I get an SOS. And as I was speaking,
how did you get that SOS?
Yeah, so I'm going to stop the call so the police doesn't show up.
They're going to show up and we're like, guys,
sorry, we're just recording
we're just podcasting.
So all I did, and I was talking to you the entire time, I was alerting somebody. So how I do that, and I'm happy to share this, this is why we're doing free classes, by the way, go forward, because it's just, unless it's a private, but anyways. 5 times this is an iPhone 11, but most iPhones are the same. 5 times I press this button. Another reason why I have this in my pocket when I leave at all times in my hand. I pressed it 5 times, and you can set it in your settings to call SOS. And I'm just going to quickly show you. And I don't know if the camera will catch it, but
you turn it this way, it will catch it.
Emergency SOS.
Yeah.
Sorry, emergency SOS here.
Yeah.
And then it'll tell you exactly how you can set your phone, who can be your emergency contact, and Yeah, and my husband's is a Samsung. His is actually kind of cooler because it actually takes a picture of your attacker in front of you, a picture of yourself, sends a location to where you are. So does the iPhone, sends a location, but it sends a location and it continues to send his location to his emergency contact until he stops the feed. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, I got to do that for Jane. Like, I gotta set that up for Jane and let him know that that's available.
That's the thing is, like, no one teaches you this about
Apple
your phone.
doesn't teach you that. Apple, you got to do a better job. And Android, better job. You put the features in there.
They're there, and that's what I'm saying.
Stop cheaping out and not giving us manuals when we buy phones. We only
have to buy it separately because it's Apple.
Well, I'm sorry. We only spent $1,200 freaking dollars for it. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. If you want an upgrade, you're gonna have to it's
pay
just
for that.
It's crazy.
So the thing right now with a lot of the younger kids is stranger danger. Yeah. So I always try to teach Ava about stranger danger. Actually, it's funny because the latest thing we taught her is what do you say when someone comes up to you and said they're mommy's friends and they want you to come with them? And we taught her to say, you're lying. My mom doesn't have any friends. but for real, like how old or how young do you think kids should be before instilling this stuff to them? And how do you help them make sense of stranger danger? Because that's what's going through my mind, is how do I make this stick in her head that,
It's not. Okay, so that, I'm going to come back to that, and it's going to lead to this. So growing up, every time, there was parties or wherever, you were like, your parents would go to these like houses and there's people you don't know, but they'd always tell you, oh, give your uncle a kiss. I've never met this man. He's not my uncle, right? But you have to hug him or you have to kiss him. And now that's old school thinking, Now as a parent, that's not okay, because if she's uncomfortable, I'm now telling her, I'm sending her the wrong message saying, no, but this is a stranger and I want you to kiss him and hug him.
Yeah.
Because it's okay. But it's not okay, because out in the real world now she's confused. She's like, well, he's a stranger and he wants me to hug him and kiss him. So is that okay? So it's very confusing. So I think as parents, the messages that we send, and again, it's a lot of work being a parent. Like when I talk to my sister and my friends or anyone who doesn't have kids, I'm like, it's honestly, everything you say is calculated, because there's reason to everything as to why. Well, here's the outcome. At least I do. My brain is always like, okay, if I say this, this will be the result. But then she'll question this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
nonstop,
It's, I get it. I think as a parent, we do that. It's like, did we do this right? Did we know? And then you talk to other parents and I'm like, oh, like, fuck, am I overthinking everything?
Yeah, you think you're overthinking it.
Every time I make a decision, or I feel like I'm always messaging Giselle and I'm like, was I really hard?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, when, sometimes I need other parents to talk me down, to be like, you know what, I think it's okay. And even if it does come out in a different way that you hoped it to be, it's just another learning for you and for your child. So, it's a fine line. It's a fine line. It's tough on parents, especially for me, where I'm like, because I'm so hard on myself when it comes to parenting, and and I mean, everyone's like that too.
Well, it's a fine line. And that's, like I said, I mean, the message that we're sending our kids, I don't know, just be very careful with how we or at least clarify. Okay, well, this is, I know him. It's just a respect thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you go to someone's house, eat. Well, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
But you're going to eat because it's respectful.
Yeah.
So with your question about, teaching what age, at least, it's never too late, I don't think. I know. With Ava, I mean, at 4 and up. So for our school, we have kids programs that we evaluate the children at 4 years old, because 4-year-olds can be very different. They either have an attention span or they don't. But it's never too late to teach them that it's, to be cautious or to not go with a stranger. And you may think they're not listening. You may think that it's not registering, but just sending that message over and over, they will learn and understand it when they're older. I honestly think it's the same thing as it's psychological, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even with teenagers, I mean, you have to tell them multiple times. So
it's the same.
So it doesn't matter if they're 4 or 15. You gotta.
You just want to hope that, if ever they're in a situation, they're going to hear mom's voice in the back. Oh, I remember her telling me. It's something's going to stick when you keep saying it. And
so speaking of 4-year-olds, and I hate to even bring topics like this, but it just makes me cringe. What tips and advice could you give to parents? If the child is at 4 or 5 years old and someone tries to nab them, like what specifically can you teach them to try to get out of it?
Well, obviously they're not big enough to defend themselves.
Exactly.
But they have a voice. And that is huge. They have a voice. They can scream. They can yell. We teach our kids to stranger danger is huge. Yelling it really loud. Some kids come in and they're like, stranger danger, stranger danger. I'm like, well, no one's going to hear you. So that's part of teaching them to be confident to say it and yell it. So, I mean, again, at 4-year-olds, we stop yelling. Why are you yelling around the house? But there's different if you're teaching them and say, okay, let's take 5 minutes and say, stranger danger, stranger danger. And why are you saying this? Honestly, it's even with women's self-defense, we tell them to learn to find your voice, because if you need to defend yourself, you need to know how to really project that voice, and adrenaline will get you. But back to like kids, teach them that their voice is huge. Talk about their body, talk about pressure points, soft tissue. Where can we hurt somebody? Have you ever been poked in the eye by a child accidentally? That hurts. And that's going to help them while they're, stranger danger. Teach them how to use the phone appropriately at that age. What's 911? Or when you press number 1 and that's mommy's number, or press these 5 buttons. 4-year-olds can do that. I mean, they can do anything nowadays on technology.
They're so technologically advanced now.
And that's it. They don't underestimate children. We should never underestimate them because they can learn. And in fact, they learn faster.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for parents on why they should, I guess you already did this. Sorry. I'm just reading now. So I think we can all agree here that we are a long way from equality for women. So as a mom of a daughter, what is the most important piece of advice you can give to Josy to take with her into her adult life as a woman?
Just to be confident and trust her instinct and her gut, and never follow, and always be a leader. That's always all I've ever wanted. I never want her to, there's so many social media platforms that are really scary nowadays.
Yeah.
And I need to trust that all I can do is instill in her that she's going to go with her gut and be a leader and do the right thing. That's all I want her to do, is do the right thing, do a good thing, and be a good person. And I've yet to see her fail me in that,
That's really
she
good to
checks
hear.
me.
Yeah.
She checks me as well, right? So
That's so amazing.
She's
First of all, you are
And at only 12 years
girl
old.
power. Like honestly, I envy you. I wish I was like that when I was 12.
Yeah.
And
That, yeah.
a little bit more humble and caring for people, and I think that's the reason why Giselle and I really actually started this podcast, is because we really wanted to give back. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me, for the fact that I took from the community. I didn't give back the way that I should have when I was younger. Yeah. And I want to make sure that I don't continue taking from the community, and I want to give 1,000 folds than what I took.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty, extremely guilty for it.
Well, I mean,
after having kids too.
Through no fault of your own, right? And at least you're realizing it now, being so self-aware. So,
so the one thing I'm curious is, with you taking self-defense and like all these other organizations, I'm wondering like why the school isn't teaching self-defense, because I feel like if you teach self-defense, bullying is going to stop at school, and it's going to raise more awareness. I don't necessarily think wearing, pink shirts is going to do anything, and freaking hashtags. Yeah. Do you think that this should be a curriculum?
I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah.
Mandatory. My daughter went to a private school from grade 1 to 6, and one of the programs, it was optional at the time, was martial arts. The following year, maybe it was a year or 2 years later, it became mandatory. Why? And my reason, and that sold us. We were looking for a school. As soon as we found out they had martial arts, it was like, we're definitely doing it. It wasn't about the academic that we can work on. I mean, we didn't have to. She was still young. But the martial arts, because it teaches discipline, confidence, and respect, and obviously how to defend yourself. Again, martial arts is not about violence. It's quite the opposite. It teaches you such good skills, and most martial artists, fighting and defending themselves physically will be the last thing they resort to.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, everyone that I know that is in martial arts. Well, my son, he does jiu-jitsu, and he did a couple, but he gravitated to jiu-jitsu. And his patience of like, when it comes to confrontational, well, except with his dad. Let's get that straight. But he's very calculated in some of the decisions when people are trying to egg him on, and he's like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Which he actually did once with a kid when I think he was 10. This kid was throwing rocks at the park, and I was so happened to just be walking to go get him because we were leaving, and I see him put this kid in a full Nelson, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get sued. And he's like, Mom, I told him to stop. And he was throwing rocks at other kids, and then and my nephews. So he put him in a full Nelson, and then the kid just stopped, and then I was almost like, where are your parents? Like, why are you even throwing rocks? So I feel like kids who are taking those classes, they're actually pretty disciplined, because that's the one thing they teach you.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was going to say that too, is that one of my close friends growing up, he's a black belt and he has so much patience, but that's what makes him a target, is because they know he's not going to fight back. So sometimes when someone's egging him on, I'll be like, why aren't you doing anything? You're a black belt. Come on, kick that guy's ass. He'd be like, no, it's not worth it. And he's like super patient and very like collected when it happens. And it's because he's a black belt.
And that's what I'm saying. Like martial arts, I mean, the ones that I know, there's so many out there and they're all good. It's cognitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's cognitive because it's helping you learn how to use your left and right brain. You know, you're doing this, but you're learning so much more than just learning how to throw a punch.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I do agree it needs to be mandatory, and that would be definitely something that I would.
Okay, take a look at this camera right here and tell the Catholic or the school boards, the whole CBE, all of the schools, what you guys should be teaching. You tell them right now, and she's gonna come she's gonna teach and bring her people at extracurricular or not even extracurricular. It's mandatory for phys ed.
It has to. Why wouldn't you want that program in the schools? I don't understand it. Like, I can square dance. That's what I learned. I can figure that out on TikTok.
Do they
Yeah,
still
the
teach
waltz.
that?
I'm pretty sure they do. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so let's make a pact right here that within this year and next year, we're going to push Calgary and all the schools to take this as a mandatory. Maybe the bullying and the crap is going to stop when we actually implement it inside our schools instead of, I was about to say F word, but
You can.
Really?
She's good.
I know.
You're stopping yourself now?
know.
She drops F-bombs left and right. Now she's stopping herself.
So-
Jesse's not a little kid. You can say it.
Oh, I know that. But, if I want to be heard and taken seriously, I don't want to be the angry person. But what I'm saying is, so the fucking bullying will just stop and we're doing something. Let's stop wearing pink shirts. Fine, wear pink shirts, but let's do something.
Mm-hmm.
All the parents go out there, and there was that on the news where the mother and the daughter was there and they all walked out of school because the school wasn't doing anything. There was females getting sexually harassed inside the school, and like the school didn't even want to comment, or the Calgary Board of Education or whatever. It's like, that's the reason why we protect the schools inside, or like we shame the victim for even coming out. Like, it's crazy how we're supposed to be supporting them.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous because these kids have to go to school with the people that harass them.
Right.
I know there's an incident. I've come across so many different stories, live stories in front of me, and I'm in shock.
Yeah.
I'm like, the school didn't do anything about it. She didn't tell her parents because her parents, again, not to put focus on race, but traditional Asian, she would have gotten blamed for it, she says. That's what she told me. My parents are typical Asian parents, so they'll get mad at me because of what I was wearing.
I think the school should stop telling girls how to dress and focus more
strap?
on, like I remember there was so much censorship behind that when it comes to what girls are wearing. And it's like, okay, so you're putting so much focus on what girls are wearing, but when it comes to the actual bullying, no one wants to do anything. Okay. And I'm not sure if you saw, but we had one of our first episodes that we had in studio was with Stephanie Sargent. So there was an incident where a girl, was it Chestermere?
Yeah,
a girl at a Chestermere school had committed suicide. She was 12? And
she was not even in. Well, I don't even think she was in junior high.
Yeah, and because she was bullied, and the school didn't do anything. And then Stephanie, who was our guest, she had the similar incident happen to her when she was going to that exact same school. So it really just goes to show that nothing has changed. Like they're so focused on so many other things at school that they're missing out on the more important things, like the mental health and well-being of their students.
Yep. But that's the other thing. So if the schools don't make it mandatory, so why aren't the parents, or why aren't they referring or saying, here's an extra program that you can attend, and it's self-defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, parents need to be educated. Everyone needs to be educated. It's not about violence.
No.
It's not about learning how to fight. We're not creating fighters. We're creating people to keep themselves safe and defend themselves. That's what it's about. And I just think that if we can't depend on other people to do it, we take it upon ourselves as parents to really step up and start to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to teach my kid, and then maybe my kid will teach someone else or someone, maybe they'll be able to spread the word. We can't rely on the system. We just can't.
Yeah.
So,
which is sad.
It is.
I feel like they should make it mandatory for workplaces too. Like legit,
Yeah.
it needs to be. I know that it's in when I would launch campaigns and stuff like that, and there would be guys on my campaign. I always purposely teamed up a female and a male when they're working late at night. Sometimes they'll shut things down and we go to festivals and they're done at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and there's a lot of inebriated people, and I'm like, you have the due diligence to walk her to her car or ride together or make sure. And another thing that you know what I really hate was when I like if I'm getting out of the car, someone's dropping me off at home and they drive off and I haven't walked to my door, and I'm like, you
That's so rude.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And also I've been on dates where people have not walked me to my car and it was like late, and I was like, are you serious right now? Or
Yeah, no
like,
second date.
That was a
I
no.
was like, no, to me
Red
that's
flag.
that's a deal breaker.
Yep.
Like regardless if you even knew me or it was the first, second, third, or whatever date it was, like watch me get into my car and at least then.
Yeah.
Even then, like with my girlfriends, anybody, I was like, hey, I'll watch you to your car, but text me when you get home.
We always say that
all the
Text me when
time.
you get home.
If I don't hear from you within the time frame that's there, I'm going to be texting you, asking you, hey, what's up? If you don't answer, I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to call your spouse and say, hey, she left. Is she home? You know,
It's not that hard.
it's
And
not that
it's the
hard.
same thing that I say. Like, she doesn't go out on her own yet. She's 12 only, whatever. But a lot of moms that I know have teenage daughters. Tell me where you're going. I'm not being an ass, or I'm not. I just need to know where you're going. Tell me when you get there, and then tell me when you're leaving. You know, there's a phone for a reason, and I'm tired of the phone being used for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
TikTok only, you know, all those things that these young girls are doing when they're I walk. You know, you drive downtown. Even the other day, I went for a run in my neighborhood. There was this young girl. She must have been about 10 on her phone the entire time. Didn't even know it was there. And for me, I was like, should I just grab her and then teach her a lesson? Because for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's how I wanted to teach her a lesson right then and there. So I
Yeah.
could have easily
Yeah.
have grabbed you and done whatever. Like if I was driving, I could have stuck you in the car and just given that moment. And I always do that when I'm walking. I'm like, oh, I just got to go tell her, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So because Jesse's 12 and you're about to enter into the teenage world where your mom's going to ask you, I promise you from experience, my son's 15, turning 16. He still checks in with me. I don't need to know what he's doing. He's going to have his lessons of what he's doing, but it's a trust thing. So if you do that with your mom, she's just going to trust you. She's not going to, she's not going to ask for any details in between, because as parents, and I always tell my son this too, is that if you say you're here and an emergency happens and I can't find you,
That's right.
or you didn't track, I'm going to be searching in that area.
Yep.
So if you don't tell me you're in that area, then there's nothing I can do to help you. At least guide me. You're like a needle in a haystack. I just need to know when. I think he does that well, where he says he's going here playing ball, and then when he's moving, he's going somewhere. I said, you don't have to give me play by play, but just tell me where you are and what time you're going to be home.
Yep.
I wasn't allowed to do that growing up. I lied.
Yep.
I said I was at the library.
We all did.
All the
but we
time.
also didn't have phones.
Yeah, but also our parents just didn't trust us anywhere.
That's true.
It's true. So I couldn't tell them I was at the library all the time. I mean, how much library could I do
It's like, man, my
every
daughter's
day and
smart.
on the weekends?
It's like, wow, you must be getting really smart spending all that time at the library.
How many books that you read? Yeah, and it's true. I mean, there's no reason not to now. There's so much access to technology.
Totally.
It's a simple thing, and it's not that hard. And you got to do it as a woman.
Yeah.
Text your friend, let her know, hey, you know what? I'm just leaving work, or your husband, or whoever, a friend, quickly, because again, it's not being paranoid.
Yeah.
It's just establishing that safety
Yeah,
habit
exactly.
that you do, right? It's not that hard.
It's not. And so Jesse is an only child. Do you think that things would have been different if you had a son?
No, we've talked about that, and no, they would learn the same skills. We treat her as if she was just, okay, so she's a girl. Obviously, she's more high risk nowadays.
Yeah.
But she is, honestly, we've raised her as if we would any boy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn martial arts. you're gonna suck it up sometimes, and you know what, you're just gonna learn. I mean, at least that's what I think.
Well, and even more so if you had a boy, I think it would be more on the side of respect towards women.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, if he has a sister, then obviously you're going to learn to respect your sister, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, whatever. And absolutely. And respecting women and helping women, just the simple things like walking you to the door or, you know, checking in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those things, absolutely. And I'm sure you've taught your son those things as well, right? So
Well, it's funny because I'm like, when I've given him crap a couple times. I'm like, it's late. Like, why are you late? And he says, Mom, I was walking Danny to her house. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
fine. Acceptable.
And he was like, I you know, and then sometimes he'll be like, hey, I walked so-and-so home. Most of the time it's female friends of his, and he's like, can you pick me up here instead, because it's kind of dark. And I told him too, I was like, listen, don't be the big ballsy guy and say I can go whatever. I was like, just pick up the phone if you need a ride, I'll pick you up, it's not a big deal. Like, there's just specific areas that I don't think you should be taking the bus or being there, like,
Because that's what we talked about. I think, you know, assaults happen on men too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just women. It's high risk for women. We're obviously bigger targets, but they happen to men all the time.
well, yeah, and like right now, I mean, people could like what you're wearing, like that's lovely highlighter.
Oh, I'm stopping
sweater.
traffic. I'm standing
I'm
there
gonna be
directing
like,
planes.
take your shirt off. I want that. You know what I mean? Like with a guy, or be like, give me your wallet. It doesn't matter. And like, if you are just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and that was the biggest reason why we wanted Jaden to learn self-defense.
Yeah.
Not, you know, one, through the bullying, and two, defend himself, but also if somebody were to attack him, like you need to make sure that you can get out of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know?
And with everything that's happening right now, especially in the increase in attacks on like women and like Asian elders and stuff, everything that's happening, all the bullshit. Like not very many women think that it could happen to them. I remember approaching you about 2 years ago, I think now, and I told you that my best friend had been attacked downtown, and oh man, Josie got so riled up. She was like, oh my God, I'm so heated. I told her exactly what happened, and she's like, we need to do self-defense now. And so I gathered a bunch of my girlfriends, and we took the class, and it was like even the stuff with the phone that you taught us, and the stuff about, you know, the weapons you can use in everyday life. That's the stuff that like women don't really give a second thought to.
They think, and that's the thing immediately. Well, I don't know how to punch. Well, I'm not teaching you how to punch, actually.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's your everyday, what is your routine?
Right.
Think about your life, your routine, your everyday, and how are you going to defend yourself if you need to?
Yeah.
And that's fun, you know, and bring a group of girls, make it fun, but at least you're learning something. And
Right.
I was so glad when you guys approached us. That was awesome.
Yeah, and what you said before about how it's not, yes, martial arts is beautiful, but self-defense is ugly. And when you explain that to us about how it's ugly because you need to do whatever it takes to get yourself out of that situation, doesn't matter who you're hurting, how you're hurting them, just get the fuck out of there, right? So I remember when you were telling us, you know, doing like jabs to the eye and stuff, I know some of the girls were like, you know, kind of just doing, you know, and then it's like, do you think you're going to hurt your attacker that way?
Yeah, because your attacker wants to hurt you.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's the mentality again. Be prepared to hurt someone because okay. Imagine your daughter or you trying to defend your child. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing more dangerous than a parent trying to protect their child. I'll tell you, I swear to you, I envision even a car coming close. I can stop that car in my head. And I probably would try. I'm not saying I could, but I mentally could and do anything for that. So it's all in here. If you think you can, and all I want women to do is learn the basics and don't stop until you at least are safe. I mean, don't give up. If you're being attacked, don't give up. You know, just keep on fighting. Find that spot. Find those little pressure points and soft tissue. It's so simple, but yeah. Okay. So it's like first aid. Why do we learn first aid? Just in case, right? Just
Absolutely.
in case. Why not learn self-defense? Hopefully you'll never use it. This lady, so we did this self-defense course, and one of my instructors was out grabbing groceries. She comes out across the parking lot and grabs him. He's like, whoa, what? She's like, and she just kind of grabbed him, and she's like, thank you. thank you so much. He's like, for what? And she's like, you saved my life. She's like, you and your team and, the lady, blah, blah, blah. Or she was talking about one of our courses. I had to use something that you guys taught me, and I'm alive now today because of it. And he just broke down crying, and she was crying because that's all it is. I don't care how many people are in my session. If there's one person, there's 20 people. It's that one lady that I'm reaching that may need to use it. And I hope to God nobody ever has to use anything. Mm-hmm. But because of her and because of all the other women that have approached us and said, thank you because you saved my life, that's what it's about.
And that's why you do this. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm very
absolutely.
passionate about because it's, we had a lady come not long ago and sorry.
That's okay. Is there a tissue? There's a box of tissue there. It might be outside.
I'm passionate because that's what it's about. It's about saving a life. And it's, again, I don't care what it looks like.
Thank you. Look at you. You're so amazing. I love you. I love your daughter.
Thank you. It's about, it's not about me judging you. Okay, well, did you do the knee the way I taught you? I don't care what you did, but you're here today. And this just happened in March, International Women's Day. Another lady approached us and she called us and she was just so thankful because she also used so many techniques that we had taught her that she never thought she could. And she practiced. Mind you, she did go home and she practiced the things that we taught her. But she was able to talk about it, and she had a bad leg. I told her, you have another leg, you have 2 arms, you have this. And she was here to talk about it. And that's what it's about for me and for our team because it's not okay. It's your space. It's not okay to be attacked. And you better go down fighting. Mm-hmm. There's consequences, obviously. But you know what? At least you're going to live to talk about it.
Yep. And it's not just in everyday life where women get these unexpectedly, but also the ones who are in abusive relationships that you've helped as well, right?
Well, people think it's a random attack. The highest attacks are in the home, and it's someone you know. Yeah, those are the highest rates. Yeah. So again, and if you're being attacked at home, that's not okay. That's not okay, and that should not be allowed. So, and there's resources out there.
So, I lost my train of thought.
Happens.
There's just so much that's jambling in my head right now. Could you tell us what kind of pressure points women or anyone can use if they're being attacked?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got like clavicle area and bone here.
Is it like this? You dig through there?
You can dig here. You can grab the bone here. Like it's the littlest things. Soft tissue is the best. Triceps. Okay. And that's something that we always show in one of our self-defense classes. If you're being choked or grabbed or attacked.
So you just pinch it and twist it?
Pinch under, and I will show you later. It's fun. Because I know just Sal remembers. If you're being grabbed, again, if your hands are free, you can hit. It's not affecting him. I mean, remember, you're thinking adrenaline's going through both of your bodies, so you may not be affected by any of these strikes. But, right under the tricep, inside of the thigh, the love handles. If you grab that, can you imagine just grabbing? Even if you grab it on yourself and you really squeeze, and we're not massaging, we're grabbing and we're ripping. Yeah. And if you have nails, that's even better, right? And you've got on the back of the ear here, you've got areas in the back. There's so many little spots that you can go after. The soft tissues on the nose, and and then we talk about knockout points. Where can you hit and how can you hit? What's the best way? I wore my shirt today. It says "Fight like a girl."
Yes.
Nice.
Because we always say, slapping is for girls. Well, hell yeah, it is. You know why? Because that's what we encourage. It's the palm strikes that don't punch, palm strike.
Yeah.
And that's
actually a lot. It hurts a lot more when you use your palm.
Yeah. Well, Josy taught me a kill shot. She's like, don't do that. I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea.
And again, yes, make sure that you're trying to get out and not, again, it's in the situation, I'm not going to stop. I'm like, I'm going to make sure I'm not going to kill him. And you don't want to kill somebody. Yeah. That's not the point. The point is to get to safety. But the palm strike, I encourage the palm strike and slapping like a girl because it's whatever they call it, slap like a girl, hit like a girl.
Yeah, for sure. So I know the reason why we wanted Josy here and we wanted to talk about it was because of all the increase that was happening in Calgary, where women were like being abducted, somebody's trying to abduct them in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's scary. Like it's broad daylight.
Yeah, it's broad daylight.
And, as well as there was another child who was sitting in the car but saw something because they were aware of the surroundings. He witnessed someone who was actually about to get abducted, and he told his mom. So it all viral, like circulated through social media. So that's the biggest thing. So for all the moms, the dads, like our ham fam, we want to make sure that this is the reason why we do what we do, is to make sure that you guys get all the resources and the tools. We'll definitely put the link, but stay tuned because we're going to do something special for the ham fam after this drops, with Josy, and it costs you nothing, because remember, a life is just so valuable. Like you can't, you can't buy it with money or anything like that. So we want to make sure that we give you guys the tools that you need for your family.
And this all intertwines into a lot of the things that we're talking about with, our episode with child trafficking, where we recorded an episode with domestic abuse. Everything is just so tied into each other, and Asian hate, Asian hate crimes. So, it ties into just everyday life, and with everything that's happening right now, it's totally worth it. And, it could save your own life.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell, especially kids and my daughters. Like, if you can watch an hour of TikTok or Netflix or whatever, why not take the time just to learn one simple type? I don't care. One. Because that's the one move that you might be able to use or need to use ever in the future, right? So, I'm so passionate about it, and I would love to reach as many women. I don't care where they find their self-defense program. I just encourage it. Wherever you learn it, just learn something.
Yeah.
And be mentally prepared. I mean, the whole point is not to get to confrontation.
Yeah.
It's to avoid that.
Yeah.
So.
Back in the days when we were younger, there used to be those stickers that you put on your door or on your window.
Or like block watch.
Yeah. Does that even exist still?
I don't think so. I don't see it in my neighborhood.
I don't see it anymore.
I don't see it. Nobody talks about it. I'm curious why we don't have that.
Yeah, and then again, good question. Does it come down to, it's a stranger? We've instilled in everyone that a stranger can't help you, or... So again, it's
a fine line.
Yeah.
Because it's like you could be walking into somebody who could actually hurt you with that freaking sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I was actually thinking about that today, and I said, I need to ask Josy if she's because I don't see it. I mean, we used to have those stickers at our Maitland house. We had one of those, and I did see it frequently.
That's actually a really good question, and a really good point too, because it was funny. I was just watching our episode with Angela today, and they were saying that sex trafficking wasn't considered a crime against humanity until 2010. That's when they were like, okay, this is wrong.
It's wrong.
Which is really fucked up if you think about it. That's not that long ago. So, having those stickers, if you had those stickers now, it'd be like, oh, that house has a sticker. He's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. You know what I mean? You can never.
Oh, we should do that. We should start sticking stickers on pedophiles.
Yeah.
Big ass fucking stickers. I will personally use my money to make stickers if I knew a pedophile lived there. You deserve to have that on your door for the disgusting shit you've done. Because how can you sleep at night doing that to vulnerable children?
Yep.
Well, there is a registered sex offenders, and I think, is there an app for that where you can find them?
I think so. I've heard of it.
I saw it on TV once, but I didn't know if it was is that a thing? Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, so there's an app that exists.
Okay,
and can you see where they live?
I don't think so. I think if they have multiple records on them, I'm pretty sure you can.
Maybe it's in the vicinity.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna find. Thank you, Josy. Look at this. This 12-year-old knows
She knows this.
Your children should be knowing this, and I mean, and it stems from us who should be teaching that. So we'll find what that app is, and I really think that you should check to see, because there was just a big bust that happened here in Calgary and in Edmonton, where they arrested all these people.
It's disgusting.
For child pornography, right?
Yeah. It's I can't, like, the thought of it and to talk about it, it makes like I want to vomit.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm watching movies, I have to fast. Like I always get up and I walk away.
Oh,
hits
those are hard
home,
to
I
right?
just
watch.
can't because I think of like my nieces and my nephews and like just kids in general. Because
But and again, that's a good point you make, because think of those people. Why aren't we, or who's teaching them how to learn to get to safety, or who to talk to, or you know, like, and that's why I used to work at this with this psychologist, and she told me, she was a child psychologist, and she said, make sure that when you become a parent, this was before I was a mom, you teach your child about all their body parts, but by their name.
Yes.
Because then that way they can tell you where they've been,
Exactly.
God forbid.
yeah,
Or and vice versa, you can tell them where to hit them if you need to.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's disgusting.
yeah.
That's so funny. I just taught Ava. You heard her say that, right? Where she's just like, "Oh, my vagina."
Yeah.
Yeah. You were
and then
teaching her that.
everyone's like just surprised, and I'm like, "Well, I taught her the right word for it, so she's not wrong."
Yeah.
I just know that for sure that you could teach Ava to scream really loud because our greetings with each other is real. Like the whole
God.
fucking Seton neighborhood can hear it. I'm serious, and it's great. I always love I always say how much I love when she greets me. It just warms my heart because
She screams at the top of her
yeah,
lungs.
and I was like, oh my God, this little thing is so excited to see me. And when I wish people were that excited to see me, you know, it's just amazing.
It's heartwarming, and again, we can teach children how to
use her voice.
to use your voice, because
Yeah.
someone's listening. You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's all they can do, then that's what they need to be good at, and do it right, and do it loud, because someone is listening. You just never know who.
So what Josie's going to do now is she's going to show some pressure points or what you could do if you are being attacked. So we'll get AJ to cut that.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about pressure points and soft tissue. So I'm just going to use my friend Bill here to kind of show you some of the areas that you should be striking. Some pressure points, some soft tissue. So if we talk about the temple, this is considered a pressure point. So of course, if you hit somebody in the temple, it's obviously going to either knock them out or really damage or buy you time. So you can easily come in and strike it with your palm. You have the mastoid process, which is also the bone right behind the ear here. So if you come in here, and if you are being attacked and you're able to get your hands out forward around their ears, press in behind here. Again, this is a pressure point that you could use to your advantage. Again, the jugular notch, again, another pressure point. Also considered soft tissue because, I mean, it's soft here. Even if you do this lightly to yourself, you're going to end up hurting or losing the ability to talk. So therefore, if you're striking it with force in order to save yourself, you're definitely going to be able to buy yourself some time by striking here. The brachial plexus, which is also considered right in between the shoulder blade and the chest here. So I'll quickly show you with my partner here, Quint. So Bill has just come to life, and right in between this area. So if I were to press down here, again with force, and I'm trying to save myself or my life, I'm just going to press in there, and it's going to be very effective. So this is just this part of the body. I mean, of course, you've got the clavicle area here. You've got this part, which is your xiphoid process. Soft tissue, right here. If you press in there, even if you do it to yourself, again, it's going to be very effective. The radial nerve and the ulnar nerves, which are on the arm. Now, the ulnar nerve is on the bottom of the arm. And again, if you find the area right between the muscle and the bone and squeeze, it'll be very effective. And on the top, which is the radial. Again, if I show you an example, if he gives me his arm, again, my attacker's got me here perhaps, and I'm able to free, or just grabbing me even, I can find that area here and press down. Again, I didn't do anything but just squeeze down. So many areas that Bill does not have, so he can get out of the way. Again, so we have this area. If he's got me here, I can come under the triceps and just pinch. I didn't do that with full force. Soft tissue right under here. I promise you, if you try this at home on some unsuspecting soul, it will be effective. So again, under the triceps, you pinch. If it's not effective, or you cannot find the area, there's nothing wrong with grabbing with all your might. And we also have the muffin top. In this area, it works just as effective. You come in, you grab, and you take, and squeeze as much as you can. You also have the soft tissue, that's the inside of the thigh, that works just like the inside of the tricep. You come in, you squeeze as hard as you can. There is areas on the toes, on top of the toes, on the foot, so the soft tissue of this foot, if I were even able to take my heel and just go right on the top. That is your area based on just using soft tissue pressure points that may be very effective. Again, when we're holding our self-defense sessions, we'll go into more detail as to how to apply these techniques, and you'll be able to experience how they feel as well as be able to apply them to a partner. All right, so I hope you found this information useful, and we'll be able to provide more details in regards to more self-defense sessions coming up.
Okay, so we are almost out of time, Josy. So thank you so much for joining us. You have given us the power to be empowered and to keep ourselves safe. But before we go, we saw a poem by Guru Dan Inosanto.
Which you're directly under.
Yeah. He says, we are climbing different paths through the mountain of life, and we have all experienced much hardship and strife. There are many paths through the mountain of life. Some climbs can be felt like the point of knife. Some paths are short and others are long. Who can say what path is right or wrong? The beauty of truth is that each path has its own song, and if you listen closely, you will find where you belong. So climb your own path, true and strong, but respect all other truths, for your way for them could be wrong. What path are you hoping to take next?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Honestly, my passion for reaching as many women and more that's all I see. That is my vision, martial arts and reaching women to their full potential, to keep them safe. And if it's just me and my team and whoever, reaching one woman that's all I need. That's my passion in life, and that's my focus and goal, and that's what I want her to learn as well, that we're here to keep people safe, to teach them how to be safe, and to really respect themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for anybody, reach out to us. We can connect you to Josy and her team. That is something that Giselle and I are we want to advocate for you guys. This is why we do what we do, because we want to connect you guys. Yep. And there's no excuses anymore to say that I can't afford it, I can't do anything. You can come reach out, and we'll give you the resources.
Yeah. And stay tuned for some exciting things, God willing and COVID willing, that we're going to do with Josy in the near future. So stay tuned, and don't forget to check us out. So thank you so much again, Josy. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you, Jas.
Yeah, thank you.
For being here and sharing your little tidbits. And I know you are well equipped for anything that comes your way in the future, which is amazing. So it's been a pleasure. I think everyone who's going to tune into this will feel at least a little bit more equipped with the knowledge, especially like with your phone and everything, to protect ourselves. So we'll put the link and self-defense classes for Josy on the show notes, and be sure to check her out for all the parents out there. It's a great time to take these classes with your children. Yes. We can teach them about stranger danger, but sometimes that's not always the case. We just need them to be vigilant and know their surroundings as well.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Ham Fam. That's it for us today. Don't forget, at the end of the day, wash your hands, wear your masks, and love yourself even on the hardest days.
Bye, guys.
Bye.